Harlem, New York, December 3rd, 2013. Devonnae Wilkinson, 34, would receive 20 years, and her husband, Malik Wilkerson, 35, he would receive 20 years as well. The family and friends of Sheryl Outerbridge, 38, did not think that this was a fair enough sentence. One day, they may be free, but Sheryl's loved ones will never get to see her again. Everyone wants love in their life, and she was no different. It was that night she met him at a party. She was attending this party with her then abusive boyfriend. He had gotten a bit intoxicated and became very arrogant and disrespectful toward Sheryl. Just when he was about to put hands on her in front of everyone, he stopped it. That guy who was standing at the party, he just came out of nowhere, and he stopped it. It seemed like he just appeared. I don't even think Sheryl even noticed him before he intervened. His name was Malik.
Hi.
Not only did he stop her abusive ex
Sheryl.
from hitting her that night, he stopped her from hitting her ever and coming around again. He stopped that situation, and he started something else between them that night. I mean, she needed this. She had fell in a deep depression that seemed to last for years. Her mother, who had just battled drug abuse almost all her life, she had died of AIDS. This was terrible and tragic in its own, but this would escalate Sheryl into a deep depression. It was so bad that she had to ask her son's father if he could keep their son just until she got her head together.
Thank you.
Her daughters were with other family members. Sheryl sometimes didn't keep good male company, so to speak. So Malik appeared to be a breath of fresh air. She was excited about this relationship. It was new and fresh. What more could she ask for in a man? And then she found out Malik was married. And on top of that, he was still with his wife.
He's married.
This did not deter her. I guess it added to the mystique of Malik.
I don't care.
She would come to Jamaica, Queens, still keeping her apartment in Harlem. But she would come down there and she decided to move in. She would move in with Malik and his wife, Devonnae. She would tell a selected few friends that she was only there for Malik.
I'm just with Malik.
But over the weeks that turned to months, that turned to years, she started to love Devonnae as well.
I love you too.
And the feeling was
I
mutual.
love you too.
The trio would have dinners together, go out. They would take trips. They were all happy. Sheryl would post this to her social media, which is like a page frozen in time. It may have been a little weird to the outsiders looking in. She would stay with the Wilkinsons for weeks at a time, returning to her apartment for a couple of days and then back to Queens. But Sheryl was happy, and that's all that mattered. So, then what happened? People noticed, people talked, if not to the person that they were speaking about, to one another. Whenever Sheryl did return back from Queens, she was battered and bruised. Malik had become controlling and jealous, just like her last boyfriend, the one he so courageously protected her from. She She wouldn't tell her friends everything, but some knew. At this point, Sheryl, she was ready to leave this abusive relationship. She hadn't wanted to be in this relationship for a very long time now, but it was coming to the point where it had to end. Every time she tried, Malik and his wife would show up to collect her. She was scared, I believe, a little. He did threaten to kill her, and the abuse seemed to get worse. She wanted out. She wanted out of this relationship.
Malik, just let me go.
She was tired of going to the hospitals. She was tired of being beaten, bruised, and battered. She was tired of being a victim. He was always saying that she was cheating and out doing other stuff. She was tired of everything. So on December 2nd, 2013, she was being hounded again by the Wilkinsons in Queens. They kept insinuating that Sheryl wanted to leave them because she had another man somewhere else, which wasn't the case.
Love us anymore?
She was just tired of the physical, mental, and emotional abuse that the Wilkinsons were inflicting on her. Devane, she had changed a lot. She hadn't acted like the fun-loving, caring person she once was. She could be just as abusive as Malik was. They yelled at her, they shoved her, they threatened her. She told them that she would stay. She just needed to go to the corner store and pick some things up.
I'll come
Malik
right
allowed
back,
it.
baby. I will.
Sheryl was headed to the train station to go back to Harlem. She had had it. It was in her head that she was done. She was never returning back for anything. As Malik sat at his house waiting for Sheryl to return, he felt that she was taking too long. He called her, ordering her to get back to the house. For that short amount of time that she was gone, he was already accusing her of being with other men. She had just left the house. The Wilkinsons hopped in their car to track her down. They found her at the subway station ready to go back to Harlem. Malik would force her back into the car and they would drive back to their house. Malik started to slap and shove and hit her. He told her she wasn't going anywhere, that she was going to stay there with them. She was not leaving them. Devane, she would even yell out, "Why are you ruining this?"
You're just ruining
Malik's
this.
hits and punches were forceful. The Wilkinsons decided to disrobe her, to keep her from fleeing again. As they stripped her of her clothing, Devane witnessed something that she hadn't seen before. Malik had seen it, and he was flattered. It was a tattoo that Sheryl got on her birthday for him.
What is this shit?
It was on her buttocks, and the words said, quote, "Bish Baby," unquote, a pet name that his wife Devane had given to him. Devane never seen this tattoo. Devane would even tell the police she became enraged, that she took a beer bottle and she would hit Sheryl upside the head with the beer bottle. It had broken pieces. She even said she put a lit cigarette out on her. Sheryl screamed out in agony and pain, and she called for Daddy. Another pet name that Devane had given. The Wilkinsons at this point, with Devane intervening, they took turns together and separately beating this poor woman. They beat her everywhere on her body as she rolled up. They beat her with roller pins that they had from painting their walls. They used their fists. Devon even picked up a hammer, anything that they could find. Quote, "You violated. You crossed the lines,"
disrespecting me,
unquote,
Malik.
Devani would scream. She told the cops, quote, "She should have never gotten that tattoo because I am his wife, and that kind of tattoo is reserved for me,
Mrs.
his wife,"
Wilkinson.
unquote. After the married couple beat her unconscious, they went into their bedroom and they went to sleep,
Good night.
leaving this poor, lonely, naked woman on the floor. The one that they loved, the one that they said that they loved, she loved them. All these years, they left her unconscious on the floor, and they just went to bed. And knowing these two, they probably slept pretty damn well. The next morning, Devani, she would find Sheryl was dead. People often refer to situations of poly couples when one is murdered. This is the reasons why you should entertain this type of relationships, some would say. How can two people say they love you and then they kill you? The same way one person says that they love you and they kill you.